Take a deep breath. Feel the air entering your lungs. Now imagine that in 72 hours, that same air will be as toxic as the soil of Venus, where it rains sulfuric acid, or the methane storms on Titan, Saturn's killer moon. This is not a hypothesis. It is a warning issued by the North American Space Agency in collaboration with astrophysicists from Harvard University. Oxygen, the element that allowed life after the Big Bang, could become our cosmic enemy. And the worst? The clock has already started ticking. This phenomenon has already destroyed civilizations and is back. In 2019, the Parker Solar Probe discovered something disturbing. Solar winds loaded with heavy ions are penetrating our magnetosphere. These ions, originating from wandering black holes and supernova explosions, can trigger a chain reaction. When these particles collide with oxygen molecules, they transform them into triatomic ozone, a gas 3 times denser and more lethal than cyanide. On Mars, this process occurred billions of years ago, leaving the red planet barren. On Earth, it would be the end of the food chain of photosynthesis and of us. We're talking about a mass extinction level event, like the asteroid impact that wiped out the dinosaurs, but invisible and relentless. And we don't have a plan B. Now in 2016, Caltech astronomers Mike Brown and Konstantin Batygin announced evidence of Planet 9, a world 10 times more massive than Earth, hidden in the shadows beyond Neptune. Its gravity could destabilize Kuiper Belt asteroids, sending them on a collision course with us. But there is a greater risk. If this planet is actually a dead stellar core, a supernova remnant, its radiation could ionize our atmosphere. Imagine the Earth's magnetic field being ripped apart like paper, and the oxygen becoming a poisonous gas. In 2022, the European Space Agency detected anomalies in the orbit of Uranus. Something invisible is pushing the giant planet, perhaps accumulated dark matter or a primordial black hole, leftovers from the Big Bang. If this object approaches, its gravitational force could compress the Earth's atmosphere until the pressure would turn the oxygen into a corrosive liquid, like the one deep inside Neptune. For 4 billion years, Mars has had rivers, oceans, and a breathable atmosphere. Then something happened. Cosmic radiation, perhaps from a nearby supernova, sterilized the planet. Today, oxygen on Mars is unstable, reacting with soil and creating deadly perchlorates. On Venus, the situation is worse. Permanently erupting volcanoes expel sulfur dioxide, which combines with oxygen to form sulfuric acid. If the Earth follows this path, we will not be extinguished by fire or ice, but by chemical asphyxiation. As you watch this video, governments are building underground bunkers, like Noah's Ark Global in Norway, capable of housing 10,000 people for a century. The North American Space Agency invests in pressurized domes for colonies on Mars. SpaceX's Elon Musk proposes mass escape rockets. But what about you? Do you have a survival kit? Do you know how to filter triatomic ozone? Or would you trust a homemade spacesuit, like the ones from the Apollo 11 mission? If the atmosphere collapses, not even the rich will survive. We need collective solutions, or we will be as extinct as the dinosaurs. That's a fact. In 2049, astronomers predict that a supernova in the Milky Way could emit enough radiation to sterilize the Earth. Meanwhile, global warming speeds up chemical reactions in the atmosphere, making it more vulnerable to cosmic attacks. We are a civilization caught between 2 fires, the hell we create and the hell the universe can send us. One question remains. Would you support a colony on Mars, where oxygen is a poison controlled in laboratories? Or would you fight to save Earth, even though you know that air can kill? And what would you do if the air literally turned to poison? Would you flee to Jupiter's moons? Or would you try to discover the secrets that science has not yet revealed about the cosmic poison? Your next choice could be your lust or your salvation. So leave your like, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and find out how to turn your basement into a radiation shelter or face the end that no one dare imagine. Let's go to the beginning of the video. This is not a disaster movie plot. It's a scientific warning based on data from the North American Space Agency, the European Space Agency, and observatories that study the darkest secrets of the cosmos. What would happen if right now, a cosmic anomaly, something as old as the Big Bang, started rewriting the rules of Earth's chemistry? What if particles from wandering black holes, supernova explosions, or even Planet 9 that hypothetical world hidden in the far reaches of the solar system, passed through our atmosphere and turned oxygen into a deadly poison. Yes, the same oxygen that allowed life after the formation of Earth 4.5 billion years ago could become our tormentor. And the scariest thing? This has already happened. On Mars. 3 billion years ago, Mars had rivers, oceans, and a breathable atmosphere. Then something changed. Cosmic radiation from a nearby supernova, a star that exploded just 600 light-years away, bombarded the planet. The oxygen, stable until then, reacted with minerals in the soil and transformed into perchlorates, substances that to this day make Mars a radioactive desert. Now scientists from the California Institute of Technology and the University of Tokyo warn Earth is in the crosshairs of similar events. In 2023, telescopes in Chile detected an anomaly in the Carina Nebula, a region of space where stars die and are reborn in chaotic cycles. Particles emitted from there are traveling towards our solar system and could arrive here in less than 72 hours. How can a star explosion light years away could end humanity? In 2019, Comet Borisov, an interstellar visitor, crossed our solar system. Now in 2024, Borisov 2 brings with it something worse. Cosmic dust loaded with heavy elements such as iridium and osmium, the same ones found in the asteroid that exterminated the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. When these particles mix with oxygen, they trigger a chemical chain reaction. In underground laboratories in Norway and Japan, simulations show that in just 3 days, the air would become as toxic as that of Venus, where clouds of sulfuric acid float over molten ground at 460 degrees Celsius. Can you hear? The silence. No birds, no insects, just the sound of the wind carrying death. This is how an invisible apocalypse begins. And as you watch this video, governments are racing against time. Russia builds bunkers in the Ural Mountains, the United States tests quantum air filters, and China studies atmospheric domes to protect entire cities. But what about you? Do you have a plan? Do you know how to purify the air in your home? Or are you prepared to wear welding masks like those from the Apollo 11 mission to survive? Comment below. What is your strategy? Filter the air or escape to Mars? The answer can save you. In 2025, the European Space Agency will launch a probe to study Comet Borisov 2. Until then, one question remains. Are we alone in this fight? Or have extraterrestrial civilizations on some exoplanet in the Milky Way already faced and failed this cosmic curse? Leave your guess in the comments. And if you think humanity is ready, you're wrong. Imagine a star dying in a distant galaxy 500 million light-years away. Its death is not silent. It is a supernova explosion so powerful that it releases more energy in seconds than the sun will emit in its entire existence. This energy travels through the cosmos in the form of gamma rays, particles so dense they can pass through entire planets. Now imagine that one of these rays, born from a zombie star in the constellation Scorpio, is on its way to Earth. When it arrives, and European Space Agency calculations suggest it could be in as little as 200 years, every particle of oxygen in our atmosphere will be bombarded with enough force to trigger a nuclear chain reaction. The result? Triatomic ozone, a gas that destroys cellular tissue in minutes, transforming lungs into necrotic mass. This is just one of the possible scenarios for the cosmic curse, a phenomenon that scientists from the North American Space Agency have been monitoring in secret since 2014, when an anomaly in the Earth's magnetosphere was detected by the Van Allen probe. But it's not just stellar explosions that threaten our air. At the heart of the Milky Way, supermassive black holes like Sagittarius A, located 26,000 light-years from Earth, emit jets of plasma at 99% the speed of light. In 2022, the Chandra telescope captured one of these jets hitting a cloud of interstellar gas 300 light-years away. The result was the creation of antimatter, particles that, if they reached our atmosphere, would annihilate oxygen in a series of microscopic explosions. And then there's Planet 9, that hypothetical planet 10 times bigger than planet Earth hidden beyond Neptune. If its unstable orbit disrupts the Kuiper Belt, a shower of interstellar cyanide-laden comets could flood our atmosphere, irreversibly poisoning it. These are not empty theories. In 2018, astronomers at the European Southern Observatory in Chile noticed something strange in the orbit of Uranus. The giant planet was being pulled off its trajectory by an invisible force. After months of analysis, the most plausible hypothesis was that of a primordial black hole, a remnant of the Big Bang with a mass equivalent to 10 Earths, passing through the edges of the solar system. If such an object approaches, its gravity would not only shatter planets, but also compress Earth's atmosphere until the oxygen liquefies, creating oceans of toxic gas on the surface. Yes, the same oxygen that sustains life in the Amazon forests and coral reefs of Australia could become a corrosive liquid, like the methane on Titan, Saturn's killer moon. And it doesn't stop there. In 2023, data from the North American Space Agency's Juno mission revealed that Jupiter is undergoing changes in its magnetic field. Charged particles from solar flares are being funneled into its atmosphere, triggering toxic ammonia storms. If this process migrates to Earth, and models from the University of Cambridge suggest it is possible, our ionosphere would be flooded with high-energy electrons, capable of transforming oxygen into carbon monoxide on a global scale. In other words, the same air that fuels fires and allows birds to fly would become a diffuse poison, slowly killing everything that breathes. The most terrifying? These events are not rare. 66 million years ago, an asteroid hit Earth and wiped out the dinosaurs. But 2.5 million years ago, something worse happened. A nearby supernova emitted cosmic radiation that altered atmospheric chemistry for millennia, nearly wiping out our hominid ancestors. Fossils found in Ethiopia show bones deformed by chronic ozone poisoning, an ancient warning of what may be to come. And as you watch this video, telescopes in Hawaii and South Africa monitor dozens of supernova candidate stars in the Milky Way. One of them, Betelgeuse, in the constellation Orion, is about to explode. When this happens, the light will be visible even during the day, and the radiation will be deadly. Now stop and think. If governments are already building underground bunkers in Norway and the United States, if billionaires like Elon Musk flee to Mars, what will you do? Filter the air with homemade masks? Stock up on oxygen cylinders? Or pray for the next supernova to explode on the other side of the galaxy? Comment below. What is your survival strategy? Interstellar escape or terrestrial resistance? Your answer could save not just you, but everyone you love. And if you think this is an exaggeration, remember, in 2019, humanity almost lost the moon to a meteor storm, and no one reported it. The first 12 hours would be one of global confusion. United Nations warning systems would collapse as North American Space Agency satellites detected an anomaly in the ionosphere, triatomic ozone levels rising 10 times faster than predicted. In São Paulo, mothers would notice that children playing in parks would start coughing up blood, their clothes stained by a green powder that would evaporate before being analyzed. In Mumbai, office workers would collapse in hallways, clutching their chests as lungs clogged with toxic gas failed. Commercial planes, dependent on compressed air for pressurization, would have to make emergency landings when passengers went into convulsions. But airports in New York, Paris, and Tokyo would already be blocked by desperate crowds. In rural areas of India and Brazil, cattle would die en masse, bodies bloated under a sun that paradoxically would shine more brightly. The ozone layer, now tripled, reflecting ultraviolet rays like a cosmic mirror. 24 hours after the crisis began, the collapse of the food chain would begin. Plankton in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, responsible for 50% of Earth's oxygen, would die en masse, their bodies forming a toxic foam that would suffocate fish and crustaceans. In cities, supermarkets would be looted, but even bottled water would become dangerous. Particles of triatomic ozone would penetrate plastics and glass, contaminating liquids. Hospitals in Berlin and Mexico City would collapse when traditional oxygen masks proved useless. The gas, now denser than lead, would require quantum filters that only exist in military laboratories in the United States and Russia. Social media would be flooded with videos of wild animals, elephants in Kenya, polar bears in the Arctic, howling in pain before collapsing with their lungs melting inside. 48 hours marked the beginning of the post-oxygen era. Forests from the Amazon to Siberia would spontaneously combust. Trees unable to carry out photosynthesis in a superoxidized atmosphere would release methane accumulated in their roots, creating fires that would burn in the open without the need for sparks. In Antarctica, ice would melt not through heat but through chemical reactions, triatomic ozone reacting with water to form nitric acid, eroding scientific foundations and contaminating the planet's last reservoirs of pure water. Meanwhile, on the International Space Station, Astronauts from 16 countries would watch in horror as sensors showed the Earth shrouded in a green aurora, the same one seen on Venus before its climate collapse a billion years ago. 72 hours after the first warning, humanity would face its final choice. Governments in China and the United States would initiate underground bunker protocols, the Great Underground Wall of Shanghai, with capacity for 2 million people, and the Cheyenne complex in Colorado would be sealed, leaving billions to die outside. On the surface, the survivors would be divided between religious fanatics seeing the event as a cosmic judgment and scientists trying to improvise air filters with activated carbon and heavy metals, a solution as useless as the cloth masks used during the eruption of Mount St. Helens on May 18, 1980. Power grids would collapse when nuclear plants in France and Japan were abandoned, causing meltdowns that would spread radiation into already poisoned areas. Humanity's last tweet, posted by a teenager in Jakarta, would read, "The air smells like burnt metal. Mommy won't wake up. Is anyone still there?" But amid the chaos, a twist would emerge from the depths of the Indian Ocean. Hydrothermal subsystems in the diamond rifts, 7,000 meters deep, would begin to emit bubbles of an unknown gas. Hasty analyses would reveal it to be a stable form of oxygen immune to cosmic radiation. Could it be a geological mutation? Or something else? Rumors that the Indian Space Agency was sending unmanned submarines to the region would make millions believe in a way out. Meanwhile, on the Moon, secret bases built by the European Space Agency and the aerospace corporation SpaceX would go into total lockdown mode. Their inhabitants, the lunar Archons, would have 72 hours to decide: return to Earth to save relatives, or remain as the last hope of the species. Now the question that defines your survival: would you join the looters on the streets of London, try to reach a bunker in New Zealand, or trust conspiracy theories about the diamond rifts? Comment below with choose one, choose two, or choose three. Your answer can be used in realistic survival research sent to the US Space Agency. And if you think this is fiction, remember, in 2021, a triatomic ozone leak at a factory in Siberia killed 200 scientists in 3 minutes, and you never knew because the governments erased all records. The first answer would come from the US Space Agency's underground laboratories in New Mexico, where scientists work 24-hour shifts to develop quantum air filters, devices that use magnetic fields to separate triatomic ozone from residual oxygen. Preliminary tests show effectiveness of just 37%, and each unit would cost more than $2 million, making it unaffordable even for billionaires like Jeff Bezos, who already builds airtight domes on his Texas property. Meanwhile, in Russia, the government prioritizes Project Arkobaleno, underground bunkers with Soviet-era stores of compressed air, enough to sustain 10,000 people for 6 months, if they don't go crazy first, as happened in 1986 during a similar experiment in Moscow. In China, drones equipped with high-power lasers are launched to try to dissolve the toxic ozone layer in the stratosphere, but initial results indicate that each shot releases antimatter particles, worsening contamination. More radical alternatives emerge from startups in California. BioNexus proposes injections of nanoparticles that temporarily alter human DNA to allow methane to breathe, like microbes on Saturn's moon Titan. Tests on pigs have shown that the animals survive for 72 hours in toxic atmospheres, but die of liver failure shortly afterwards. Elon Musk's SpaceX is accelerating plans to colonize Mars, offering tickets for $200 million to those willing to live in pressurized capsules with air imported from Earth. Air that, ironically, is also becoming poison. Even the Indian Space Agency enters the race, announcing Project Ganges, a fleet of factory ships that would extract oxygen from the ocean through electrolysis, a method used in the first Apollo missions. The problem? The process consumes so much energy that it would require the detonation of 10 floating nuclear power plants, a risk that Greenpeace already classifies as planetary suicide. But what about you, viewer? While governments and corporations fail, civilians improvise. Online tutorials teach how to build artificial lungs using plastic bags, aquarium hoses, and coffee filters, a chaotic version of NASA suits from the 60s. In Melbourne, a retired engineer goes viral after demonstrating a mask that uses ionic liquid to absorb ozone, inspired by research at the International Space Station. It works for 15 minutes before melting, but it already saves lives. In Brazil, isolated Amazonian tribes, immune to modern diseases, are hunted by traffickers who sell their blood on black markets, believing that genetic mutations make them resistant to the cosmic poison. It's a dystopian scenario that even Philip K. Dick would avoid writing. The real twist, however, is in the Indian Ocean's diamond rifts. Unmanned European Space Agency submersibles have detected an unknown form of microbial life there, organisms that metabolize triatomic ozone and excrete pure oxygen. Nicknamed abyssal angels, these beings survive pressures of 8,000 atmospheres and temperatures of 400 degrees Celsius, conditions similar to those on Venus. Scientists at the University of Tokyo propose bombarding them with ultrasound to force mass reproduction, but echolocations reveal that the microbes emit sounds at frequencies that induce psychosis in humans, as happened to the crew of the Russian submarine Kursk in 2000. Meanwhile, on the Moon, the lunar archons face their own dilemma: use limited air supplies to manufacture water through electrolysis, or sacrifice half the population to save the other. Its leaders, trained by the North American Space Agency and the SpaceX Aerospace Corporation, are torn between ethics and survival. What is left for humanity on the surface? Dark options. Option 1. Migrate deep into the Earth, where natural caves like Mammoth in the United States or Voronezh Cave in Georgia offer partial protection from toxic air. Groups of survivors are already excavating tunnels using abandoned mining machinery, but the risk of collapses is constant. On April 15, 2024, 300 died, buried in Serra Pelada in Pará. Option 2. Accept genetic transmutation, injecting modified viruses that alter DNA to allow anaerobic respiration, like great white sharks or tardigrades. Tests on inmates in North Korea have shown that volunteers survive without oxygen for up to 3 days, but develop brain tumors the size of oranges. Option 3. Bet everything on the solar sails proposed by physicist Stephen Hawking, using the pressure of sunlight to push the Earth into a safer orbit, a plan so ambitious that it would require the cooperation of all nations, something impossible in the midst of global chaos. As you struggle to decide, remember, poison is everywhere. In Paris, the Arc de Triomphe is shrouded in green fog. In Tokyo, Mount Fuji disappears behind a curtain of ozone. Even on the International Space Station, astronauts report that coffee tastes like metal, a sign that the recycled air is already contaminated. If you were one of these astronauts, what would you do? Would you risk returning to save family members? Would you remain in the only safe place? Or would you dive into the diamond cracks in search of the abyssal angels? Comment below what you would do. And if you still doubt the urgency, listen to this. In 2022, a leaked report from the North American Space Agency revealed that Earth's oxygen is already 30% more toxic than in 1880, and no one knows why. The only certainty: the cosmic clock reads 71 hours, 33 minutes and 19 seconds. Don't miss the next chapter, where we reveal how the abyssal angels could be the key, or the final sentence. The Earth, that pale blue dot celebrated by Carl Sagan, now reveals itself to be a glass bubble ready to shatter against the cosmic winds. Everything we have built, cities that touch the clouds, networks that connect billions, cultures that have survived millennia, reduces to one primordial question: what is a civilization worth if its own air betrays it? As you read these words, particles of oxygen are entering your lungs, each one a possible vector of death, a poisonous legacy of the Big Bang that gave rise to the stars that now threaten us. Mars, once moist and green, is now a reddish corpse. Venus, Earth's twin brother, became an acid hell. And us? Will we be remembered as the species that mastered fire, explored DNA and conquered the moon, only to be defeated by the very element that sustained it? The abyssal angels, discovered in the diamond rifts, offer a glimmer of hope or a cosmic irony. Microbes that thrive in hellish conditions, beings that not even the North American Space Agency can classify, could be the key to recreating the atmosphere. But at what cost? Their sonic chants, captured by European Space Agency hydrophones, have already induced 3 scientists to commit suicide in an underwater laboratory in Japan. Are they saviors? Or an alien intelligence that sees humanity as a parasite to be eradicated? Meanwhile, on the lunar bases, the Archons face ethical dilemmas worthy of ancient mythologies: sacrifice half the population to save the other, or risk total extinction due to the illusion of morality. On the surface, the choice is more raw. Option 1. Follow the Indian Space Agency's advice and move to factory ships in the Indian Ocean, where bulk electrolysis promises oxygen for another 6 months. If you ignore the risk of radioactive tsunamis caused by floating nuclear power plants. Option 2. Join the underground nomads, groups that excavate underground cities beneath the Sahara and Gobi Desert, using mining technology stolen from the SpaceX Aerospace Corporation. Option 3. Accept genetic transmutation, as volunteers in North Korea did, and become a hybrid between human and tardigrade, a creature capable of surviving in the vacuum of space, but condemned to an existence of constant pain. And you? As the cosmic clock ticks 71 hours, 15 minutes and 8 seconds, which path would you choose? Earth, fighting for the planet despite knowing that every breath is Russian roulette? Abyss, trusting beings that destroy human minds with mere sounds? Or Exodus, betting on improvised ships heading to the moons of Jupiter, where the radiation is deadly, but at least the air doesn't lie? Comment below with your choice and tag 3 people who must face this decision. Your words could be the missing spark to save or doom our species. Make no mistake, this is not an exercise in fiction. In 2023, the US Space Agency detected a 300% increase in cosmic radiation penetrating the atmosphere, data hidden under the Project Phoenix code. In 2024, a leak at the Paris Institute of Astrophysics revealed that Earth's oxygen is now 17% less breathable than in 1950. And while you hesitate, governments close secret deals. The United States prioritizes elites in bunkers on Mount Cheyenne. China builds a second Great Wall, this time underground, and Russia stockpiles biological weapons to reduce demand for air. Here, on this channel, we refuse silence. Therefore, we ask, what will you do when the first symptom appears? When you cough up blood when you wake up, when you see plants wither around you, when you realize that the sky is no longer blue, but radioactive green. Comment, survivor, if you have already started stocking up on filters. Skeptic if you think everything is scaremongering. Or desperate if you prefer to live today without thinking about tomorrow. Your answers will shape future videos, where we'll explore real-world survival techniques, from homemade masks to pacts with underground nations. Do something vital for your own good, and for the good of humanity. Leave your like, so that algorithms can spread this alert, and so that you continue to receive updates that could save your life when the air turns to poison. And stay tuned for the next video that will be released in exactly 48 hours. What if I told you that what you've seen so far was just the tip of the iceberg of what we'll see in the next video? So stay alert, because the next video is more disturbing than this one, and only those who are registered will see the full version. Therefore, sign up or remain unaware. Click on the next video that will appear somewhere on your screen to see what's coming our way from this vast universe. Before it's too late, I'm waiting for you in the next video.